Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're jumping straight into how digital innovation is, well, fundamentally reshaping sustainability right inside our buildings.
Yeah, and we've been looking at a really interesting discussion featuring Jayla Asuit from Schneider Electric. They're a huge player in this space.
We have. Our source material is a video transcript, actually, from the Harvard Business School YouTube channel. Lots of good stuff in there.
And for everyone listening, you're probably looking to get up to speed quickly on sustainability, technology, how it all fits together.
Exactly. So this deep dive, it's really designed to pull out those key insights from what Schneider Electric is doing. You get the picture without, getting lost in the weeds.
In Schneider Electric, it's worth noting, they've been at this for a while. The sustainability focus, the energy transition, it's not new for them.
Right. Makes their perspective on digital solutions pretty valuable, I think. Okay, so let's dive in. Their strategy. It seems to hinge on combining two things: physical products and digital smarts.
That's the core of it. It's not just one thing. It's not only about making cleaner energy, though obviously that's critical. They're also focused on the plumbing, essentially, the electrical gear.
Yeah.
And then they layer the software on top to really optimize how you use the energy.
Kind of like building the roads and the traffic control system for sustainable energy in buildings.
That's a good way to put it, yeah. Building both.
So when we talk about the energy transition, this big shift from fossil fuels to cleaner stuff, people often think solar panels, wind turbines.
Right. The generation side gets a lot of attention.
But Gila's point, as I understood it, was that without the right electrical products, the breakers, smart meters, grid connections, that clean energy doesn't actually get to, power anything.
Precisely. And that's Schneider's hardware side. But electrification itself is a big part of their thinking, too.
You mean switching things that used to run on gas or oil, like heating, over to electricity?
Exactly. Moving away from burning fossil fuels directly in buildings or vehicles and powering them with electricity instead, especially as the grid gets cleaner. That's a huge step for decarbonization.
Makes total sense. Cleaner electricity means using more of it lowers the overall carbon footprint. But they don't just stop at switching the source, do they? There's this big focus on just using less.
Absolutely critical. Electrification is one pass, but energy efficiency, that's paramount. Just cutting down how much energy we consume in the first place.
Across the board, like factories, data centers.
Yep, all those. And especially in buildings, the places we live and work. Minimizing waste there is huge.
So where's the biggest demand coming from for these kinds of combined solutions? Sounds like Europe is a major hotspot, especially for buildings.
That's definitely what Gila highlighted. These energy performance building directives in Europe, they're basically regulations pushing building owners hard.
Pushing them to improve efficiency, cut the carbon footprint.
Exactly. It's created this regulatory push that's really speeding things up over there.
And the tech they use inside the buildings, it's about making the existing electrical stuff smarter. Is that the idea?
Well, yeah, it's fascinating. They embed intelligence, sensors, right into everyday things. Light switches, outlets, circuit breakers. These things start monitoring energy use constantly, really granular data. And that data feeds their software platform.
Ah, right. Which is where EcoStructure comes in. That's the software piece of it.
That's the one. EcoStructure is like the central brain. It gathers all that sensor data, analyzes it.
And then does what? Tells you where you're wasting energy.
It does that, but it can also automate things. Adjusting heating, ventilation, lighting based on whether people are actually in the room.
T-10,
Stuff like that. It makes the building actively manage its own energy use.
Turning passive buildings into active energy-aware systems.
You got it. The results they're seeing are pretty striking.
Yeah, Jayla mentioned a figure, combining the sensors, the electrical products, and the software. It could cut energy use by 30%.
A full 30%. And importantly, with a return on that investment in under 5 years, often.
Wow. Okay, that changes things. That's not just doing good, that's a solid business case.
It absolutely is. That kind of payback period makes it a much more straightforward economic decision, not just an environmental one. It really helps drive adoption.
Now, we often picture big office towers when we talk about buildings, but is it just for those?
No, not at all. Commercial buildings are key, yes, but they're seeing a lot of traction in retail too.
Oh, like big chains with lots of stores.
Think about it, yeah. Optimizing energy across hundreds or thousands of locations, the savings add up incredibly fast. Plus the environmental impact reduction.
And it goes beyond businesses too, right? You mentioned homeowners are getting interested,
Right.
especially in Europe.
Definitely. There's this growing trend, Jayla pointed out, of people wanting to produce their own energy. Solar panels on the roof, maybe battery storage.
Right, self-sufficiency.
Partly that, but a huge driver, especially in Europe, is just cost.
Because energy prices there are, what was it, 3 to 5 times higher than the US?
Yeah, significantly higher. So for homeowners there, managing energy costs, having predictability, it's a major financial concern.
So investing in solar panels or smart home energy systems isn't just about being green, it's about controlling your bill.
It's directly hitting their wallets.
Mhm.
Makes the investment in efficiency and self-generation look much more attractive, much faster.
Okay, so these goals are huge. Decarbonizing buildings, transforming energy use. Schneider Electric can't possibly do this alone. Collaboration must be essential.
Oh, absolutely central. Jello is very clear on this. Their own direct emissions, Scope 1 and 2, are only about 1% of the bigger picture.
Only 1%, so the vast majority of the impact is elsewhere.
It's in their supply chain, the materials they buy, and especially in how their products are used by their customers. That's where the big emissions happen.
So they have to work with suppliers and customers to make a real dent.
Exactly. It requires partnerships across the whole value chain, and that includes working with governments too.
With policymakers, like in Brussels and individual countries.
Precisely. Regulations and incentives, like those building directives, play a massive role. So they engage with legislative bodies to help, shape policies that encourage this transition.
And they seem keen to prove that sustainability isn't bad for business, that it can actually be competitive.
That's a really important message they're pushing. They're trying to show, with data and examples, that investing in sustainability can create jobs, boost the economy.
So it's not an either. You can be sustainable and competitive.
That's the goal, to show they reinforce each other. And they're putting money behind fostering new ideas too, right? With that venture fund.
Ah, yeah, SE Ventures, €1 billion. That's serious investment in startups.
It really is. It shows they understand that innovation doesn't just happen internally. They want to tap into what startups are doing, fund new tech, new business models.
Kind of accelerating the whole ecosystem.
Exactly, building a broader base for sustainable innovation.
Looking at the bigger picture, Jello Eshuat sounded pretty optimistic, confident about making a continued impact.
Yeah, and that optimism seems rooted in their history. They call themselves an impact company, apparently, and have had this sustainability focus for, 18 years?
Almost 2 decades, so it's not just the latest buzzword for them. It seems baked into their DNA.
It seems that way. It's core to their strategy, not just a side project.
And I liked that phrase Jello used, viewing sustainability as a marathon without a finish line.
That really stuck out to me, too. It implies it's not a project you complete, but an ongoing commitment. Constant improvement, constant reinvention.
Because the challenges and the technologies will keep evolving.
Right, you can't just rest on your laurels.
Okay, so pulling it all together from this deep dive, it's really clear that digital tools are, critical for making buildings more sustainable.
Absolutely. Schneider Electric's approach, mixing that deep electrical knowledge with smart software like EcoStructure, is enabling some really significant energy savings.
And the demand is there, driven by regulations, especially in places like Europe, but also by those real economic benefits. That 30% reduction potential is hard to ignore.
Definitely. Plus the growing awareness globally that we just need to act on climate. And collaboration is woven through it all, with customers, suppliers, policymakers.
And it applies broadly, offices, shops, even our own homes, especially where energy costs really bite. That ROI under 5 years makes it compelling pretty much anywhere, though.
So hopefully this gives everyone listening a much clearer picture of how digital tech is tackling building sustainability, the strategies involved, and the trends driving it forward.
Yeah, a really good overview. And maybe one final thought to leave people with. We talked about those high energy costs in Europe being a big driver.
The economic push.
So it makes you wonder, how will things play out in other parts of the world where maybe energy is cheaper right now? Will the adoption of self-generation smart building tech, will it lag behind, or will other factors start to accelerate it even without that intense cost pressure?
That's a great question. Will technology costs dropping, or maybe different regulations become the main driver elsewhere?
Something to keep an eye on for sure as the whole global energy picture keeps shifting. Anyway, thanks for taking this deep dive with us today.